Okay. Last time we left off in the middle of Mitzvos Sehei. We pointed out that at the beginning of the Rambam, when he says Hazorah Shus Hamim L'Shtachvus L'Avodazoro, Borohu Ki Amrinu, that's what Kapach Avodazoro Akavona Boy Kol Ma Shenever Mibari Hashem. Okay. Now this is important. Ve'ena kavona isa ishtachavo levado l'mayit zuloso. Elo hiski derech midalke avodo kloimo ishtachavo v'kach musari milahakriv lo u'milahaktiv. So a priori, looking at this, it seems to be smaller. Later on, the Rambam introduces a Maimon Chazal from the Mechilta. Loshen Mechilta Zevech Lo Elohim Yochram. Oine Shamanu as Holoi Shamanu. That Loshen would be like that Ki'ilu, there's an Oynish, and we don't know what the Ashol is. It's Einishkin Mashirin, Tamaloima, Lishtachaveh, Leloheim, Veloisavdeh. So this seems to say that we derive Ishtachavah, that it's allowed for other things because of Einishkin Kain Mashirin. However, there's a Kosva Shlishi over here. Because it continues on and says, see, there's one point you have to keep in mind before we go on. The Mechilta is a little bit odd because there's the Chamufuish Posik, which the Ram himself brings later on in this mitzvah, ukvar nichpolo as horezo roitzeloima isa voidoso be echod me'elo abo minim afilu shloi kedalko v'om yisale v'lo yizbachu oid es zivchehem lasi'irim. So there's a mefuish alav by zvicha. So it says zevechlu him yochram. So the Mechilta is a little bit odd, to say the least. So I would say why does it stretch out to this lav? Then it continues, it says like this, and this might be the key to the issue. Then it continues, and it says, Zvicha b'chlal ho'isa v'yotziso l'lamed. It means that Zvicha was in the klal, and it's chayiv misa. And it's a list of not only Zvicha, but Ishtachavon Avodah, I assume, because this week we're the Laflam. Ma Zvicha Miuchedes Shekiyotze Bo Oivdin Lashamayim Chayov Aleho. So we're learning out from Zvicha that the Lav. It started off Zavech Ulim Yochom Oine Shamanu Ashom Inayin Shalosh Shamanu Tamulim Leistachvav Loisavdim. And then it flips, and it says, Zvicha b'chlal ho'isa, v'yotza lamed, ma zvicha miuchedesh k'yoytze boy, oivn l'shamayim v'chayov muleo, bein shu oivdoi, it means kedalkoi, bein she'enu oivdoi, means shaloi kedalkoi, af kol shek'yoytze boy, oivn l'shem, chayev olov, bein shu oived, bein she'enu oived, whether it's kedalkoi, enu kedalkoi. So what the Mechilta is trying to do is telling you that the Isa over here and the Chiyuv Misa are not limited to Zvicha, but it's Avodas Pnim in general. So it brings in the lav because it says this lav is also on everything. And it's not only, you don't only have the lav, if you would quote the lav of Zvicha and Zavech Elohim Yachom, then you're stuck and you say maybe the whole thing is only Zvicha. But once you say Zvayach and you have Zvicha, and it includes all avodas pnim and ishtachavo. So Mamela, the lav also is the same. So I don't think it's a shtickle Torah learning out from Svala. It's only because of the way the Mechilta is built that we know that Lois Tishtachave Elohem Lois Avdim applies to all avodas pnim. So then it's very odd that it means the Rambam is assuming that the lav is lav dafka ishtachavo, but to all avodas pnim at the beginning of this mitzvah. And so l'cheira, all it's saying is that's really a kilu introduction that we're going to see this is true, that ishtachavo is lav dafka, and that we'll know from the Mechilta. And it's just making a statement, and the proof will be as we go along. And we're not learning out in the Shamanu as whole loy Shamanu from Einoinshin Masirin, but the pshadi is that we can use loy Shishtachave as a springboard to learn that it's lav dafka zvicha, and everything is included, not only in the Einish, but also in the Ashol. It means everything which avodas pnim. It's a very interesting thing. That's what it's saying, I think. V'inyan ze ha'maimon, ki elu, ho'abo aminim, min ho'avodo, v'heim ha'ishtachavo, v'azvicha. Now he's explaining what the Mechilta is talking about. Ishtachavo, v'azvicha, v'akito, v'anisuch, shebehem nitztavinu, shenavur akel yisala, kol mi sheyavur avodah zara, bi'echad mehen, chayiv skila. V'afilu hoya oisa never ein dalko, ein bidalko sheyoved b'dova mehen. Even if this avodah zara is not dalko to have one of the four avodas pnim. V'hu shekleu shaloi kedalko. That's in many places. Sanhedrin of Vavam and Aleph, Sanhedrin Samach Beis, Samach Aleph and Aleph, Samach Gimel and Aleph, Samach Dalam and Aleph, Avodah Zorah and Aleph and Aleph, Huyas Dalam and Aleph, Zevachim Kuvavam and Aleph. Okay. Wait till Loima, the Afal Pi Sha'ovad, Oisa Shaloi Kedalko, he's still Chayiv. Acha Sha'ovda Ve'echa Me'elu Chayiv Skila. Kishahoya Bezit. Vuhu Bekores, which we see in the Mishnah Krisus. V'chein with the Zohar, the Ram Pirush Mishnayis, Be'eza Oifen, Sheyiyah Men Avoidlis, V'nichal Amikach Menasach Mekata Mishtachave U'Mizabeach, V'hal Bezulas Eile K'mo Shebe'am. Okay. So this we know Vubakores. We'll see about Kores more later. Im loy noida boy. Oh, loy nase boinish. He gets Kores if we are not aware that he was mazed, or he basically was chayiv, but he didn't get an oinish. He's chayiv kolas. The moye shoygeg Yaakov Kol. The Ram also says this in Perek Alv, B'shkoglis halocha. Alv kol oive b'shkogel achas imitzis loisase sheish bo ma'ise shechayav l'kores hari zeh chayav l'akol chatos. And this is what's going on over here. Then, what's the Rambam done now? The Rambam has basically said that for Avodah Zarah, Yechai b'mezid skila, if there's hasra and edim, and if not, Yechai kores b'mezid, and if not, shoyge Yechai b'kol b'chatos. Then the Rambam says, B'chein k'shekibul olov be'eloha, le'eze dover shekibul olov, or in Kapach, eze dover shekibul olov, which makes a lot more sense. It means anything, whatever you accept, if one accepts an avodah zarah, then you chayiv. B'chein k'shekibul olov be'eloha, le'eze dover shekibul olov, hinehu chayiv. Isn't it a little odd that the Rambam goes on Dalar Avodos, lists 3 options, and then all of a sudden, like good morning, that there's a chiyuv for Kabbalas Elohus. Why did he do it in this fashion? It's very odd, I thought. So I think that the pshat is the Rambam distinguishes between these 2 categories for a very simple reason. Because only the Dalet Avodos, which are Meyuchodos Lashem, you have these 3 onshim. But Kabbalah Eloha, there's only Chiv Skil and Koris b'mezid, but there's no Chiv Chatos. And the Rambam wants to split between the 2 because no Chiv Chatos in Kabbalah Elohus if it's b'shogeg. And this you see in Hilchos Shkogos, Perek Aleph Halacha Beis. V'chol aveiro, chayov mas dona kores, chayov mas shigogos achatos. Chutz misholosh aveiros. Megadev, v'chulei. V'megadev b'sheim bo ma'isa. V'nemo li'oise b'shkogo. Yotze megadev she'im bo ma'isa. Then it says like this, L'fi koch, ha'mekabel avodah zarah b'Eloha, af al pi shu chayiv kores im hoye mezid, niskal, shu chayiv kores im hoye mezid niskal, v'im kibol b'shkogo poto min hakorban, lefi shelo yoseh ma'aser, v'ne'emar ba'asisa achas. So the kitzi is, there's no chiyuv korban on Kabbalas Elohus. So the Rambam therefore separates these 2 because in the general case of Avodah Zarah, Dalet Avodos, you chayiv korban besides kores and skila. But in Kabbalas Elohus, there's no korban. It's only kores and skila. So therefore the Rambam stipulates, he says tam chayiv, but it doesn't mean everything. That's what I would suggest. I think we mentioned this many times, but Kabbalah Elohus is not the belief in the Avodah Zarah, or because that's in the the belief in another deity is Lo Elohim Acherim Alpona. What's going on in Kabbalah Elohus is the relationship that this is my God, and the relationship itself takes him from the category of Lo Elohim Acherim Alpona, or maybe also if it's a deity, something like that, and brings it also into Lo Yishtachave Elohim. Because the Rambam is quoting this chiyuv of Kabbalah Elohus in this lav of the lav Lo Yishtachave Elohim. This is very interesting. Whether the Ram or the Ramban, there is not a mefurish pasuk that talks about a chiyuv misa in Kabbalah Elohus. The pasuk in the volume talks about hishtachavo and avodah zarah, but doesn't talk about Kabbalah Elohus. So l'cheira, this is very difficult. We spoke about this once, but the truth is the Ram also Mishnah Torah quotes Kabbalah Elohus b'chal perek Gimel and Daled Azor shel avodas elu v'chulei, and then he quotes the Daled avodas. The V'zovech u'maktir chutz mishtachaveh u'maktir u'menasich avol lo'ivit bi'achas me'avodas elu li'echad mikol mini avodah zarah chayiv v'afal pi she'ein derech avodah zarah kach hamakabel lov echad mikol mini avodah zarah ve'eloha chayiv skilo v'afilu higbia leveinu v'yomar lo eliato Chen creates the chayiv. Afilu chazba b'techidei dibo. V'yoma ein ze eli. Ein chazrosa klum elaniska. So, question is, how does this happen? So it's very clear that the Mishnah and Sanhedrin, Chazal say it. The question, where do they get it from? It says the Mishnah's in Hedrin Perek Zayin Mishnah Dalin involved. Elu Hein and Niskolin, V'chulei. Perek Mishnah Dalin starts Elu Niskolin, and Mishnah Vav, part of the list is like this: Ho'eved Avodah Zarah, and l'chorei the Mishnah reads Kolin. Echad Ho'eved, v'echad Azivech, v'echad Mekateh, v'echad Mesech, v'echad Mishtachaveh. V'echad HaMekablu Allah be'Eloha, v'oim Eloi Eliat. So Chazal seem to say this is avodah zarah. And it's interesting. The Mishnahs say that hamakabel belohus, and that's lo yelo according to the Ramban. And then not only that, but it includes this and that. But that Kabbalah Elohus is just the opposite. According to Ramban, we have to understand the Mishnah. So, but whatever it is, Chazal clearly learned that Eliato, this personal relationship to the Avodah Zarah, is called Avodah, which is a big chiddush. And the Chazal say Chayiv Misa. We have no clue about how that happened. So even according to Ramban, we only know that Lo Shechavel Lehem Lo Yisa'ovdeim is only a lav, but the Chayiv Misa has to be written someplace. There's no Chayiv Misa written over here. The Chazal seem to be there's no portion. But even after this, according to the Ram, you have to ask the question, which lav is it? Is it lo yisishtachve lahem or lo yisavdem? So maybe one could imagine that the whole issue of lo yishtachve lo yisavdem, the lo yisavdem is only avodah zarah, which is gedalko in one avodah zarah and not in another avodah zarah. But in avodah, which is gedalko in all avodah zarah, which l'chayr eliato, that certainly is chayiv, and that could be not worse since it's called an avodah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I assume, because it's written over here, so that would mechayiv it. Still needs a lot of work. This is the beginning of something. Okay, now continue on. Ukva nichpuro as horizo, guatzeloima isa avoidoso, be echod me albo ominim. This isa of an isa of Dalet avodos was not only formulated in one place, and even though it's formulated shtachavo, is formulated in another place as zvicha. The Ram takes a double portrait that this is not to be mashlim dinim, it's a kefel for chumrah. The question is, we don't know anything, because it says, so who are these seirim? So the Ram therefore quotes a Sefer, ain't seirim el shedim. The question is, how much of how smart are we? Because we know that seirim are shedim. So the Rambam clearly says in the Moira, shedim are avodah zarah, which was a prevalent at the time of Matan Torah. The Rambam in the Buchim, Chelek Gimel Perek Mevov, v'oime ki kvar omro haTorah, be mashe pirish unklis, שהמצרים הויאויב דמזל תלה, מפני זה הויאויסם לשחוט עצים. Mitzrayim did not allow, the Egyptians did not allow the killing of the tzon. Shchita. And they hated shepherds, because shepherds treat the sheep as animals, and they treated them as gods. Oma, hey nizbach es tuavis Mitzrayim, v'chein kites min atzabo, so cut of avodah zarah or whatever, oivdim lashedim, v'yechoshev yehem yoshuvu b'tzuas izim, and they thought that the shedim come back in the shape of izim. Ulezeh hoyu kirim lashedim seirim, and therefore shedim were called seirim. Kvar ispashet adas hazeh me'oid, and he quotes the pasuk, v'yizbuch oid es zivcheim laseirim ashehem zeivchim. So it means that seirim, that's the Ram's quoting, that seirim avodah zarah, and that's a lav. Okay, say it. And it's kefil. I'm saying now ubigmoras vachim because that's in the kisveyad of both Cambridge and Kapach. And even Tibin, it says Sanhedrin, and if it's Sanhedrin, it's Samach Aleph from an Aleph. If it's Zvachim, it's Kuvav from an Aleph. Whatever it is, I don't think it's irrelevant. His boy, Shelav Zeh, Omnam Hu B'Shoichet Lavoid Zoro. This lab, or Yischu Oid, as Sivchem Lasirim, you don't have to take the Sifra that it says Shadim with Oshtikal Torah, that Shadim Avoid Zoro. It's like Mafuish Gemara. And even if it's not Dalko Bakach, Favoid Shchita. Amu, Minayin Lezoveach, Behema Lemakulis, Shehu Chayiv, even though Makulis is their Chavoid is Bezrikas Avonim, Shehu Chayiv, Shenem Lo Yisbucho Eid as Zivchem Lasirim. Imenu Ein Lekedalkoi, Tichsiv Echa Yavdu Agoy Moeles Eloheim, Tinel Inyan Leshalei Kedalko. And that's the Chiddush that Zvich is Chayiv Shalei Kedalko. Ve'oi ve'olov, Im Yi Amazed B'Koles, Uskila, Kamo Shibayanu B'Shoy Yakum Chatos. Why the Ram has to repeat again is a little odd. I have to understand it. He's going back and explaining that's the chiyuv skila, I guess, which he already mentioned before. It's the chiyuv misa. I know exactly why I should repeat this also. Vice boy mishpti mitzvah, bepeg shvi misanhedrin. Now, next. That was mitzvah hey. Mitzvah vov. By mitzvah shishis, he, she's hilnu, me avoid zor. By filu bezulas cho albo avoidois, hakoidmen. It means avo betnai shetia oisa avoida or avoida kedalko. It has to be kedalko. Oisa or avoida. That's what kapach. Excuse me. That's what. Excuse me. Oisa avoida is ibn Tibin, but the word avoida. Really, we don't find the kisveyad, and it said uvad shetiye kedalko. Okay, but that's what it means. Oisavoy the kedalko could be even just filled in the spaces. Where it's a loyma shiavoy oisa b'mashu derech oisa never shiavoy boy. Kamo sheyifo atzmo lepo'ol or yizlok even lemakulis. Lama yis'ale b'azchol mizeh v'lo yisi of them. So the kitza is there's a chiyuv of avoid the kedalko v'lo yisi of them. And as far that's all we know at the moment. There's only an ashara. V'lashana mechilta. Lo yishtachve v'lo yis'ov them. L'chayiv alo avoid b'fnei atzmo v'al yishtachavo b'fnei atzmo. So this is very important. What does the Rama want from this? So I think it's very clear and very simple that it means there are two lavim over here, and each one engenders separate chiyuv. Al l'chayev or avoida b'fnei atzmo, v'al l'shtachavo b'fnei atzmo. So if that's the case, and the two separate chiyuv misa, so in Mela, they're two separate lavim in minyan HaMitzvos. And this is the Rama's proof, because I could have imagined that Azhor Shishi and Chamishi should be counted as one. The Hainu to be over Avodah Zarah, and there are two ways of doing it. It's almost like Shurish Shvi. That there's one way of doing it where Avodah Pnim, even Shloi Kedalka. There's another way of doing Kedalka. And if you look at the beginning of Shurish Shvi, the Ram is ready to say that Shurish Shvi applies even to Lavan. He says, Sivuim vazhois rabim behilchos HaMitzvah. So it means it could be isuim, or there could be chiyuvim, and it also would go under the category, the umbrella of Shurish Shvi. So the chur, according to Shurish Shvi, Loisa Sehei involved should have been one ashara. The two types, two ways of being over Avodah Zarah, two different chiyuvim. So the answer is, since the separate chiyuvim, and this does state mechilta, the separate chiyuvim, so a mela, so separate chiyuvim, a mela, the separate mitzvah, and mitzvahs. And that's why the Ram quotes the mechilta right over here as his proof that it's two separate mitzvahs. So it means that's what he needs over here. Because the first question one should ask at the beginning, why should it be two different? Why shouldn't it be careful? The same way that he says that is careful. You could have imagined this also is careful, but it's two different ways. Isn't Shurish Shvi? That's what I would suggest. That's what he's learning from Michal. Ulchein Mishes Zot Evan Lapo, which is like a Dalkoi. Or Paul Atzmo Lemakulis, which is also look at Daka Eno Chayiv. He ain't ze avoidasa. And how do you know that it's Potter? You learn it out from Eicha Yavdu Agoyim Oeles Alayim V'Esa King Gamon. She learn out from the Esa King Gamoni a ptur, not a chiyuv of Kedalko, but a ptur of Shalei Kedalko. That's what he's quoting here. However, didn't he say mitzloises the hay? And he quoted the Gemara Tzvachim, or it was Sanhedrin Omu, Minayin lezaveich behema lemakulis shu chayiv shenem ol yismucho el yismchel nasirim meinoin lekedalka So the Chayr we learn the Chiyuv Kedalka, Meicha Yavdu. But L'Chayra, the pasuk is not talking about Chiyuv. It just says we want to learn how to how the Eicha Yavdu. We want to learn how the Goyim Oiber Abu Dezala. Rashi Sanhedrin, Samach Beis, the Mas Echer Oivei Kol Avoida. After Bizoyim Bekedalko, B'Chayim Misa, D'Chsiv, Vayich Vayav Elohim Achirim, D'Chsiv Basrei Skalten Bavon. She says the Azhora of Avoid the Kedalko. Listen to this. Mehocha Upentidrish Eloheim Lemo Echo Yavdu Agoim Oeles Eloheim. The Hainu Bekedalko. So he learns Rashi. This is the Azhora of avoid the kedalka, not from Lisa of them, but Echayavdu. Pen tidresh leiloheim leimo ufen, and pen is a losh of malak. Ram learns that's how is Lisa of them. And the Ram does the same thing in Mishnah Torah that he learns out the ptur from Echayavdu. In Hilchos Avodah Zarah, Gimel Locha Beis. Lefikoch Apoya Atzmo Lemakulis O Shezoak Evan Lepoor Koto At Sheyavoid Oisei Derech Avoidasa. You potter unless you ever Derech Avoidasa. Shenema Echayavdu Agoyim Oeles Eloheim. V'esa Ken Gamoni. So L'Chera, in two places, he's learning it's a tour, and in that's here and in Mishnah Torah, and in Mitzvah say, hey, he's learning a chiyuv. The question is, how do you do both in the same pasuk? Rashi quotes this pasuk as the lav. So l'cheira, it's like the Avodas HaMelech, and there in Hilchos Avodah Zarah, the core of Echayavdu is only coming to tell us what's called Oved Avodah Zarah. V'avodah she'ein avodah iskid l'Hashem, and only if it's a derech avodah, and if it's not derech avodah, it's not called Avodah Zarah. And it's l'cheira, it's like the Ramban. What is the chiyuv avodah zarah? What constitutes avodah? If it's not dalar avodas, Ramban on a Torah in Dvorim, Perek Yud Beis Posek Lamed, Omu Avol Rabbeinu Shalom Dobikan Le'eved Avodah Zarah Kedalko Shechayev Oleo Lo'olam Afilu Poya Atzmo Lepoor B'nei Shehiska Kosav Echayavdu L'Lamed Ki Sikra Avoida be'echus hahu. If you do it kedalka, v'yeh b'chlal v'lei sa'avdim, which is interesting. The Ramban calling v'lei sa'avdim, where, as according to the Ramban, that's all. I guess is many lav in the Torah because really the lav is the lo yeh Elohim achayim aponai. Avol im yizrek even lepoor. Oh, afilu derech kovod shechabek v'yinashek, oh shechabed v'yirabetz lefonov eno chayiv misa. So it means that Echayavdu is telling us Echa Maisa. What is avodah zarah? And that the Ram learns like that also. So you can learn in Mitzvah Hey, talking about the Chiyuv, and in Mitzvah Vav, and in Hilchot Mishnah Torah, and Perek Gimel, it's talking about the Ptur. Rabbi say, until this point, everything was simple. over here in the next part of this Rambam. Let's say I didn't read. 1 second. For his boy Mishpazu Gam Bishvi Misanhedrin. Okay. V'sham Amru, see, sometimes now he uses where it is, and he has this discussion. V'sham Amru Sholish Krisis Bavodah Zorah. Lama Achas L'Kedalko V'achas L'Shaloi Kedalko V'achas L'Amud. What's a loima? Kimi, there are two cases. There's Kedalko and Shaloi Kedalko, there's Moilech. What's loim Misha Ovad Eza Avodah Shetia Be'eza Min Sheyiyeh Min or Avodas Who Chayev Koros B'nai She'avodas Kedalko. That's one. Loim B'dova Shedalko Ti Oved. Kamo Poel Le'Po'o V'Zorek Evel Makulis. Umavir Saroi Lakoimesh Lakamush. Okay. Mavir Saroi Lakamush. Okay. V'chein. So that's one. That's Kedalko. Sholosh Krisis. The first is Kedalko. V'acha Shaloi Kedalko. What's the second? V'chein, Misha Ovad Be'achas Min Avodos Le'eze Nevad Shehoye Mehem Hinehu Gam Ken Chayev Koros V'af al Pi She'ein Derech Avodos B'kach Kamo Ilu Hikriv Le'Po'o O Ishtach Le'Makus. So we have Avodah Kedalko and Avodah Shaloi Kedalko, and that's the first two of the Shalosh Krisis. Right? That's what we have. And the third one is Moilech. V'achas le'moilech, v'akoros ha'shlishi, v'mi shehevi mizaro be'esh la'moilech, kamo she'evayeh in loisaseh shviyis. So, the question is, what does the Rambam want here? And l'chayra, it's very simple. The Rambam was mechadish something, which I think that in this partially, he's a das yochid rishonim. So Rashi says all chayve krisis and whatever is a kolbum requires a leisaseh, and therefore in Mila in Pesach there's no chatos. The Ram also is like that. But the Ram goes beyond that. The Ram says that Kores requires an Azhora. It's not only that by Dalet Mises Bezdin require an Azhora, but Kores requires an Azhora. And you're just two exceptions, Pesach and Mila. So if you have a separate chiyuv kores for kedalko, and a separate chiyuv kores of shaloi kedalko, and a separate chiyuv kores on moilech, it's a raya doch the three separate ashoras. There's a separate ashora for avodah kedalko, a separate avodah ashora for avodah shaloi kedalko. That's hay involved in Minyan HaMitzvos, and a separate ashora for Mavu Mizal L'Moilech, which is Loisa Sezah. So l'cheira, the Ram l'shitosai, this is absolutely brilliant and beautiful, and that's why he quotes at the end. Oh, that's the raya, because the Ram l'shitosai and shows Yudalit that it's not that the din of Einoishin K'mashirin was not only formulated by Chiyuv Mises Bezdin, but also by Kolis. So the fact that Chazal say there's a separate Chiyuv Kolis in three different cases, there's a raya doch, the three separate Lavim. This l'chayra sounds simple and a priori almost beautiful. The problem is, it's not so simple. I mean, the Maimah by itself looks tantalizing and beautiful. But that's the pshat in the Gemara from Gimel Krisis. It's a chiddush. I'll tell you why. You see, Aboisai, had there been 3 psukim in the Torah, a chiyuv koros by Molech, a chiyuv koros by avodah kedalka, and a chiyuv koros by avodah shalei kedalka, I'd say, wow. And Ram Neshitosai, it's beautiful. But that's not a representation of the reality of what's going on in the Torah. And since it's not, things become very murky over here. Where are the Sholosh Krisis? Rashi in Sanhedrin, and Samar Dal and Amud Beis, Diva Masru Sholosh Krisis, says there's 2 krisis by Molech and 1 krisis by Megadeh. Rashi, Tarte gabe Molech, B'Kedoshim Tiyu, V'Ashlish B'Fachu Chanoshim, Kidvar Hashem Bozer, Ves Mitzvah Sefer, Kois Tikois, and therefore Shahi, V'Tanya L'Kamon, Eilo Loikin, V'Chulei. Achas gedalka, listen to this. Achas gedalka, shalei gedalka, kores yisera gabe moilech im eno inyan lo tineo inyan lezaveach v'kito v'nisach v'shtachavo. So bekitze is the chiyuv kores in avoida. A dollar avoidance klim in avoid kedalko. He says we learn it out from Megadeh. But avoid shalei kedalko we learn out from Moilech. And since the 2 creased by Moilech and it made no Indian, which the ain't no Indian lechayr, it's a stam drosha ba'alma. And from that we should be able to derive that the 3 separate mitzvahs. Taisis is even cholik Rashi, Taisis Sanhedrin there, and says, Pirshu Kunchis, Shalosh Krisis, Babu the Zora, Stein, Gabi Moirich, B'Doshim, B'Chulei, Back Taisis, Kosher, Disley, Beresh, Misha Oyetome, Megadi, Final Borch as Hashem, the Sefer, Perikam the Shavuos, Mugel Kidva Hashem Bozel, Perik O. Magalapon Bateri Shalik Aloch, Torah, Koris Mabudazor Shalik Dalka Benolan, Vieshloim at the Koris Gimel, Pash Achre Mois Gabi Moilech. The Kitzi's Taisis says there's 3 creases written by Moilech, and that we learn out. Gabi Arayis Vakuluksiv, he called Asher Yase, Mikol. I said, because Yase, Mikol Toevois, the Avagaf, the Avi, Lake Fay, Lukme, the Gufi, the Mavi Benoi. Shalekadaka nichale lokme bavudazora remaino inyan even the hashes thule moich lav haino avudazora b'chayk ba'almuhu b'chule. As they state in Taisis, and the Ramban seems to say the same thing in Vayikra Perichof Vasikei that the Gimel Krisis Akadar Kloimer is well Kita Vanisa Lishtachavo Bekan Torres Ulaman. See, he also learns like Taisis. So the Boine Shem, this is Mama Shapella. If there's no Mefusha Posik by each one to tell you Chiv Kolis, but the Chiv Kolis is learned from Meno Indian. I don't even know if you can learn a Chiv Kolis according to the Rambam. but it's a separate chiyuv kolos, and therefore we learn out 3 separate mitzvahs. Is mamish kuli pella. Okay. What I want to do in the next few minutes is introduce the next mitzvah. Let's read it through, then we'll see what it is. Mitzvah Shvius, Ish is Hilnu Mites, or Milimso, Mi Bon Ksas Bibonenu, some of our children, Lenever Amufusam, Bisman Nesinas Atera, Shoy Yishmo, Moilich. So the Ram clearly says that the Moilich was a Nevad, and it was a well-known Nevad. You know what we gained by being Mufusam? Bisman Nesinas Atera, Shoy Yishmo, Moilich. Uama Yisale, Umizacho, Loisitin Lavela Moilich. So the law of giving some of your children to this avodah zarah, a nevad called moilech. Then it's not only a nesina, which both, I think Rashi, the Ramban, the Miri, Taisvis say this is a chokla, but this is not a ma'isa avodah, but it was an initiation ritual or something like that. But the Ram says, "V'hoyiso avodas isay hatzelem." So here again, it's a pesel or tzelem, depending upon your translation. So it's an avodah zarah. Moishi's boy b'shvi b'sanhedrin. So he's telling you what the avodah was. Shiaviru eish gedolo. You make a gigantic fire. I don't know who does that. I don't know if that's part of the chiyuv. It's a little strange. V'yikach sas bibonov, v'nitnu b'yara koimim misasek b'yisa never. So Bakit is a mesira to the koimim. Then it says, v'avirehu aloiso eish mitzar al tzar. Who is v'avirehu? Doesn't say. The Ram Mishneh Torah is very clear, we'll see, that it refers to the father. I guess he gives it to the kohen gives it back. So what's going on? Mitzad el tzad. Ukfa nichpolo. Was horror min amaisa azeh. So the Ram says it's nichpal, but we'll have to see. There's also an important issue. One could have said that it's 2 separate law because they're 2 separate mices. There's a mice of Messiah to the koimer, which is the first law. It's a Messiah favor. It doesn't say he's being mavir. And it's a separate law for the avor. So I have to see. The Ram clearly says that it's one law. We'll see if the others, they might interpret differently. Umishaoval, alav ze b'mezid chayiv skila, v'kores. So here we have Mufurish Psukim Vayikra, that is a chiv skila. In Vayikra Chof, Pasuk Beis, v'bnei Yisrael tedaber leimo, toimar ish b'nei Yisrael m'nageh ago b'Yisrael, asher yitein mizaro lamolech, mos yumos am ortzi gemur ba'aben. It's chiv skila. Kores, v'ani etein in Vayikra Chof Gimel, next pasuk. Chof, pasuk Gimel. V'ani etein es ponai b'yishahu, v'chati oisei mikerev amoy, ki mizaroi nosan lamoylech, l'man tamis miktoshi l'chal l'shen koch. So he's chayiv skilo v'kores, im lo yisokol b'shoy chayiv kol v'chatus kavua. And that's the Mishnah, the Ram in Hilchos Shkogis, Perek Av Locha Beis, Chol Aveir Shechayam L'Bzon Kores, Chayom Al Shkigas Achatas, Chutz Misholosh Averis, Megadif Mato Milo Vato Pesach. So every Loisas Sheish Bo Maisa is the Chayiv Kores, the Chayiv Kol Chatos. Why is Boyer? Mishpatei mitzvah b'shvi misanhedrin. So we'll have to decide next week in Metz Hashem. Number one, what the Ram Shita is, this an initiation right, or this is emes avodah zarah. And the Rambam seems to say that it's emes avodah zarah. Then it becomes very confusing. Why should it be a separate mitzvah? It should have been part of avodah zarah. So maybe we only know it's a separate mitzvah because of the Gemara Sanhedrin, the Gimel Krisis. But the whole Gimel Krisis is very wacky because all the Krisis might have been said by Moilech. And this we'll have to go through and see what the Maisa of the Aveira is according to the Rambam. And we'll try to see what the Maisa Aveira is according to the Ramban. And we'll have to ask ourselves, according to the Ramban, who knocks out Aloisa say, hey, involved for Minyan HaMitzvos, and he basically says that it's all under Lo Yelachol Lehim Achim Aponai. So the question is, according to him, is there a separate lav of Moilech? We have to look in the Asholis Chesila Kogav, and the Maisi is the Ramban, and the Ramban is not Masalik Mitzvah Shvi. So I have to know what the East is according to the Ramban, what the East is according to the Rambam. Mitzvah Hashem, we'll pick this up next week.